So welcome to the Peaceful Heart Network and an online meeting to exchange experiences around meeting refugee trauma.
Yeah, and today is the, what date is it today, actually? It's
I
the
would say it's more or less
24th,
the
24th
24th
of
of
August.
August.
24th of August, 2022. So much welcome, wherever you are. And we're going to spend these 90 minutes together. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. And it would be lovely to just find out wherever you actually are. So if you could write in the chat, just write where you are in the world. And if you have any specific reason for joining, that you're in the midst of a project that you're looking to get some help with, or if you're just curious or whatever
Yeah,
that
we would
is.
actually like to know more than that, because we would really like to share and exchange. So if any of you want to open a mic and tell where you are, and because we are not more than 21 persons, so that often goes very well. So if any of you like to say something of where you are and what you do, and yeah, please, Kala.
Hello. Yes, my name is Kayla. I live in Southern California, and I have been working for several years with a nonprofit called WSI, the War Survivors Institute. And recently the CEO went over to Poland and asked if some of us could maybe give some time to work with clients virtually. So I thought it'd be good to educate myself a little bit more working with refugees and their unique needs. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Oh, that's good. So I didn't get it. So your colleague went to Poland. I didn't really get it. If you explain.
Yeah, so he is the owner and CEO of the nonprofit War Survivors Institute. And so he went over to Poland to see kind of what some needs were, how we can help. He's been working with the refugee population probably since the 90s. Okay. So it's something that's close to his heart. So he just likes to give in ways that he can. He's a family doctor, psychiatrist, and also a therapist.
Okay, oh, that's good. I mean, hopefully we will be joined by some of our colleagues who are in Poland now. So if you like to connect him to them, you can hear from their experiences, because they have been there for some weeks now, or even 2 months, I think, or so. One of them is from UK, and the other one from Sweden, actually. And their experiences perhaps could be of great use, or so we can
that
connect.
would be that would be wonderful. And I guess just to throw it out there, he's also looking for an American Ukrainian or someone in America that speaks Ukrainian to help with translation. So put those feelers out if anyone knows anyone. Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure they have met somebody who can assist in that, or we can find it in one way or the other. So let's
Thank you.
that's good. Somebody else who wants to speak up. Speak out, or yeah, anybody?
Hi.
Hi.
I've written it in the chat, but I'll just say it out loud as well, just in case. So I'm here with my colleague Julie. We're in Lancaster in the north of England. I run a not-for-profit organisation which is dedicated to helping people recover from trauma. We use somatic therapies and emotional freedom techniques and all kinds of. I'm a sound healer as well as EFT practitioner, and Julie teaches meditation, trauma-informed. And so one of the reasons why we're interested in being here with you and learning from you, more from you, we've been running a clinic for asylum seekers and refugees since 2017. We have sort of lots of different therapies, but the numbers are just going up and up and up. So I think it's time that we started doing group things. And even though I'm an EFT practitioner and I've been doing this work for a long time, I really want to learn from you about working with refugees, and there are different things to think about.
Okay, great.
So yeah,
welcome.
Really, thank you.
Yeah, and Julie. Yeah, and Ulf is always much faster than me to read in the chat. So if you can tell me then.
So we have Amy. She is in Boston, and she's a hypnotherapist and working with internal family system therapeutic coach. Started working with EFT TTT in her practice and has incredible results. Ulla in Sweden. works as a life coach using tapping and healing, and wants to help people who want to find more of themselves. Chantal is working with AFT since 25 years. And is interested in the process about not using words, which is kind of what TTT is about. And we're going to talk more about that. It's not that words don't work. It's that once you start using words, if you can use words, if there is not a language issue, then you're at the risk of actually triggering stuff. So it's very safe and very functional and efficient to not use words.
Yeah. Can I just add to this?
Absolutely.
I've been teaching, I've been doing workshops and for EFT only. And I met you through the 24-hour
of tapping, with
tapping, the tapathon, whatever. That was wonderful. And what I found is that it was very frustrating that people would go home and would never use it because they were stuck on, like you were saying, like, oh, am I doing this right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Oh, maybe I'm doing it wrong. So, and it's so easy. So when I heard you guys, I thought, okay, this is what I need to do.
That's right. That's good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And also, we also have Una here from New Zealand in pajama. Since it's 4 a.m. we say kia kaha. Kia kaha. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but I really mean it. So bravely well done to come here at this time. And also we have Rayma working in rural Kansas with people experiencing trauma stemming from systemic racism. Yeah, good work. Welcome.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
then we have, and we have, where did you, Jan Myers, and you are 3 people, so in the same, do I understand you right? I mean, behind the black, the black screen, there are 4 of you, is it, or 3 of you? Do you have a microphone? You can say something. Yeah, great. Yeah. No, again, yes, no. I just see the mic opening and then closing again.
There's some kind of issue there.
Now, Jan, are you there? We don't really hear anything. Too
Okay.
bad. But hopefully you hear us, obviously. Since
Well,
you have...
keep trying, and once you get it working, just shout out in the room, and we'll let you through. That's fine. We have Dela Raji from Lebanon, a translator working with a medical organization that supports refugees in Lebanon. That's fantastic.
Yeah, because I had a request the other day from Lebanon. Who were you? Who was it who was in Lebanon? I'm too slow.
Araji?
Raji.
At the very bottom of the list.
Okay. Yeah, there. Dalia Raji. Okay. Translate working with medical. Because we got an email the other day from an organization working in Lebanon from UK originally called, I'll look for the name, and perhaps I could connect you to them actually, depending on
memory note on that.
Yeah.
And if we don't, then just send us an email again. We'll put the email in the box there. We have Pamela with her husband, our EFT practitioners, and use other mind-body techniques. Many of the people who are coming to you have experienced trauma on many various levels, and you would like to learn more ways to assist them. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So if we didn't read what you posted, it's because we're missed it. And if you want it to be read, just let us know. Or if you want to open your mic, that's fine. This is very informal. This is, imagine us meeting, around a tree somewhere in the open air, the tree behind Gunilla or whatever. And if you want to say something, just interrupt and say it. That's fine. There's absolutely no problem. We're here to share, and we're here to share what we've been doing with you and to hear what you can tell us.
Yeah, I think we missed Margarita, didn't we, in Texas, working with immigrant children and families in a local nonprofit. Very good. Well-being clinic for asylum seekers. Elam, that was you. Yeah. South Africa. Yeah, Zed. Have you been with us before? I recognize this Zed. Have you been with us before, Zed? That's very short. I think so, isn't it? No. Because I had somebody else who had this. So very much welcome. So we have now New Zealand, South Africa. And
maybe I can introduce myself also.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm Johanna and I'm from Germany. I'm a teacher in the middle school, and we often get new kids in our school from all over the world. The last year over from Iraq, Afghanistan, and these countries, and we don't have some techniques or methods to work with them, so they are able to participate in school life after they have a trauma or something like this. It's difficult for us teacher because we have nothing we can do with them.
Yeah, and we can say directly that yes, there are many working in schools with these techniques. We have a colleague in Australia, Dr. Peter Stapleton, who has done specific programs for schools. We have also a lot of colleagues, and and we too been working in schools. So definitely it is a perfect tool for that. And then that connects also to the question about working in groups when things become a bit bigger, like Kayla.
Just very briefly, Johanna, my daughter is a primary school teacher, and she has used these methods in her classes, and it has worked great in a different guise, the same principles, and has worked really, really well.
Yeah, nice. Thank you.
So we'll come to that. Great. Thank you so much all for the introduction. That makes everything much more easy to see where we will go and what we will mention. Yeah, so we introduce ourselves. I'm Gunilla Hamne. I'm from Sweden. I'm in Sweden right now. I have been working with these kind of psychosensory techniques for 15 years and found them very helpful. And I say them because we don't only use tapping, we use also, for example, havening, which is another psychosensory technique, breathing, and of course I do a lot of yoga and qigong and other things, but everything, working from the body and up to the mind, more or less. But then, of course, we do things with words also. It's not that it's forbidden. And I'm a journalist originally, so I am a word person. And so, but finding that healing without words is often a very good way of keeping things more, what you say, in a safe space for many people. And also this, that you can work in groups without any problems of integrity. And people don't need to share what they are dealing with. And so I've been working together with my colleague Ulf since long time, since 10 years back, and we created what we call the
trauma tapping technique.
Yeah, in the organization of Peaceful Heart Network. Yeah. So please, Ulf.
Yeah, and the trauma tapping technique, it was created specifically to help with trauma. So there are loads of different techniques and modalities, and some of them have been mentioned, and you might know them or not. But basically, we're a body-mind approach because we use the body to calm the body rather than go through the mind, which usually is turned off when somebody is traumatized or in a trauma reaction. And our focus has been from the absolute very beginning to specifically find ways to help people with traumatic reactions. Of course, the same methods work also for phobias and anxiety and all kinds of other things, but this is our focus, and that's why the actual technique looks the way it does with no spoken parts, and we'll tell you more about this.
Yeah, so we have done, usually I could say, or during the years, we have been doing a lot of trainings. We just call them, like TTT training 1 and TTT training 2, and then you can do your certification after that, or in between, or what, and you're welcome also. And then we decided that we would also do some specific trainings directed to, for example, like this one, to those who already do or would like to work with refugees, since unfortunately over 70, almost 80 million people are displaced in the world today. And since 2015, we, at least in Europe and in Sweden, we had a lot of people coming from other parts of the world, and many finding it difficult to help, like you said in the class, when there are people coming and students coming, and you know that they have experiences that actually affect a lot the cognition and the possibility of learning things. It is necessary, even though not all governments or authorities have realized that you really have to do something. And often that is because you don't know what to do. You cannot put all the children in therapy for a long time. In some parts they try, but like in Sweden, the queues are immensely long. I mean, it can be years before a child, even with PTSD, will have some kind of treatment, even though it perhaps in the end becomes medication and not really a treatment that solves the actual problem. So that's why we have this training today. So, but some of you have already experienced TTT, but not all of you, as I understand. So who had done, I mean, if you just raise your hand, those of you who have pictures have done the TTT training before. One, yeah. So it is like, so we will also tell what actually TTT, how we do it, you know, this without words. Yeah. So the reason we started working with the refugees is that the origin of this trauma tapping technique is from a part of the world where unfortunately there was already a lot of people who were displaced when I came there in 2007, and that was in Rwanda and Burundi after the genocide in Rwanda and after the call it a civil war in Burundi. And here is a picture just from that first journey, together with who became our mentor and who I traveled with, Dr. Carl Johnson, who was the person to write actually the very first article, scientific article about any tapping modality, and that was TFT, which is the original, I mean, not the original, the first tapping modality that was created by Dr. Roger Callahan in the beginning of the 1980s. So Dr. Johnson, he had been to Kosovo after the wars on the Balkans. He was there in 2000, 2001, 99 already, by the way. And then they wrote, they were 5 psychologists who had been there. And then they wrote this article that was published in the Journal of Clinical Psychology in the US. And that was extraordinary. And we have learned afterwards that this was published there because it had never been any kind of any article published about these kind of psychosensory techniques before in that journal. And they did it like an exception, and then it has taken a long time before there was another one actually. But at least it started something. In 2001 it was published. So we came together to Rwanda, and from there we were invited to many other parts of the world because the results that also we had there together were extraordinary. And this, that you can work with big groups and people can be helped with things and reactions and symptoms that had nobody had been able to help them with before, especially in what you call this countries with less resources. So this picture is from the first refugee camp actually, where we were, and that was in Congo, and they were internally displaced because these people were from Congo. But if you know something about the unfortunate huge country, rich country that everybody wants to rip their parts of, and that affects the population a lot. So many are displaced because of people, rebels, other, you know, foreign forces wants to get the minerals that are in Congo in too much. Sometimes it's the worst thing that can happen to anybody is to be having a country is to have resources when you don't have a government who controls it. And from there we have been working in many different situations, and also in prisons. And we talked today to another colleague who learned TTT some years ago, and is now having a program in one of the prisons, what do you call it, county prisons in Virginia, with huge results, or big results, whatever say, good results. So we have, you know, done this work in many different environments and with different groups of people. This is another, I mean, also with the South Sudanese refugees in Uganda. It's actually one of the biggest refugee camps in the world. It's considered to have 800,000 people. When you come there, you don't think it's a refugee camp. It looks more like a village, because the Ugandan government has been very generous in letting people, you know, build their, build houses so that people don't live in tents or very, you know, what do you call it, provisorious. Yes, my dear.
And as well, as you can see here, you know, what we do is we it's a train the trainer model that we have, all of it. So it's not that we go to places in the first place to treat the final beneficiary. We go to help people understand how they can regulate themselves and help regulate others, and everybody becomes part of the system of being a helper in this way. So every single person that we train is told to pass it on, to pay it forward. And that in a refugee camp, that can be very powerful.
Yeah, it is. And that is one, because we have some, not call it principles, but some, what do you call it? We wrote a manifesto anyway. We have some guidelines, we call it. It sounds better. Some guidelines when it comes to the work we do. And one of them is when you start working, for example, and now as we're talking about refugees, with the refugee community, is to first find an ally, find somebody within that community who people already come to with their problems, who's somebody who is already the person who people turn to. Because when you find that person and then introduce whatever it is that you want to offer, because sometimes we want to offer more than that people can really receive. That happened the same in Poland, that perhaps when our friends come, they can tell about. But you know, you find somebody there who is that kind of connector. And then when you tell, I mean, this is what I have, do you think this could be good? That person will be offered to try the technique, of course, or perhaps first time you just give like some material to read, or our app. We have a smartphone app or a TTT app in 33 languages. They can read in their own language, and often that person is somebody who already speaks English, for example. That's my experience. If I go from here, where I live in the west of Sweden, in 2016, we had the big refugee camp. They were all living in a summer house area. And then we were some people from the town who went there and became friends. And these friends will know who are the ones within the Afghan community. It was Aziz. And then within the Syrian refugee, Syrian community, it was Nawar. Within the Eritrean, you know, like that. And then we would talk to each of these people who already, and they all spoke English because they were that kind of, you know, very outward person who,
yeah, extroverts,
exactly, who had done. And just like our colleague Nawar from Syria, who was like, when he went through Europe, the only one in his group who spoke English, and then coming to Sweden, he was the one who connected to us, you know. But that's one of the guidelines, is to find somebody. We don't come and say, oh, I mean, we never come and say, hello, who is traumatized, you know, who wants
now
to.
we have our colleagues in Poland coming in here.
Ah, yeah, nice.
So Aga and Ivona, who's doing the Slupsk project, where they have been training hundreds and hundreds, if they haven't even reached 1,000 people they've trained there during these last weeks and months.
Yeah. So let's hear from you, since you said you didn't
live
have so
on the
much
ground.
time.
Yeah, they're busy in the midst of a training right now, but they promised they would come and change a word with us.
Yeah.
Aga, you here?
Yeah. So Aga, I say Ivona, and then who is behind you?
We've got Valentina, our lovely Ukrainian volunteers.
Okay, great.
Helping us.
Yeah, so we have just started like 30 minutes ago. We have had some introduction. Here are people from New Zealand, from South Africa, from UK, from US, and from Sweden, and probably in Germany and other places that I might have forgotten. And all interested in working with the TTT and refugees. And then we told that you, if you had time, you would join us. There's also one friend from the Julie, who was it who had this colleague who was going to Poland? Was it you, Julie? No, it was not. Who was it?
No.
Yeah, one of the participants here had the colleague who was going to Poland.
And they're looking for somebody who can translate
Kayla.
to Ukrainian as well.
No, not only. Yeah, Kayla. So I said that I can connect you, or we can connect you to Aga. And so, yeah, please tell us a bit about how things are there and how you came to go there.
Yes, hi, and welcome. It's such a great thing to see so many people willing to go and help with refugees anywhere, really. So really glad and really grateful. And so, yeah, we almost at the end of the project here, unfortunately, because there's still so much to do. But how this all came together was exactly on the 24th of February when the war broke in Ukraine. And myself and my colleague, we kind of got together and came up with an idea that we have a tool in hands and we would like to use it somehow. We started from making connection first here on the ground in Poland. And what helped was the fact that I'm Polish and I've been growing here and I kind of, I speak language and I've got a lot of friends who are already working, but they all of a sudden have a massive need of working with tools and techniques that are more somatic. So the words were not good enough anymore. The talking therapy wasn't good enough. And they needed something that is quick, doesn't require too much talking. And also it works on a larger amount of people, because as you know, to Poland, we have thousands and thousands of people coming every day from the 24th of February. So of course, we started reaching out into both directions. So building up our resources here in Poland, and that was making connection to the right people in the right places, but also in our community of EFT and somatic techniques. So we asked the question to our community, who is the people who are doing work at the moment anywhere in the world? And we've got connected to Peaceful Heart Network straight away. And that's how we got to know Gunilla and Ulf and their amazing expertise and, inspiration saying, yes, go and do it. So that was really good. So the next step really was, what do we do? What do we take? What can we take with us? And how can we start that work here in Poland? So because I'm from the small town in North Poland, I got connected with a president of my town and the most important people who are running the crisis committee in my town. So people who are responsible for first responders. So we had a meeting with them first saying, listen, we've got this tool. This tool is really easy, is evidence-based, has been used in the crisis. And we kind of, we brought together your work. We brought together the work from State of Lori Layden. And we said it has been used. So we here and we wanted to help. And they were just open hands and say, we want you. So that really then opened the, and what happened very quickly after a few conversations, we realized that we need to spread this word in both sides. So work with the refugees directly, but also to work with people who are helping them. So anyone that is involved in work with refugees. And in Poland, at this point of time, we decided to integrate Ukrainian refugees into our communities. So we had children at school, we have people using social care services, we have people using healthcare. So we knew that we need to train those responders first. And that's how we got to create a workshop for anyone who is helping Ukrainian. So we taught social care services, the teachers in every single school in my town. We taught volunteers, we taught first care providers.
Wonderful. Oh, that went better. Yeah.
Yeah. Slightly unstable connection. So we missed you a few seconds there.
So it was about 700 people altogether in my small town. And now we created a ripple effect. And doing this to Ukrainian communities. Am I frozen?
No, yeah, a little bit.
Hello?
Yeah.
Am I frozen?
No, not yet. The picture is frozen. You can continue,
yes,
because we hear you.
So, sorry.
We hear you.
Okay, great. So, and because of this work, we then, Yeah, we got to know Ukrainian community because we couldn't go there straight away. There was not much trust. People didn't know us, so it was got to know Ukrainian community. We knew that our hometown created accommodation to 3, or now actually it's to 5 orphanages from Ukraine. So we knew that there is a big community of children in need, but we couldn't get into them straight away because they didn't know who we are. They didn't know the tools that we're using, and we needed to build that trust. So we had first needed to train those carers in orphanages, and we did that. And that was our gate open, and we had a flood of they need of us to come and work with children. They really wanted because they got to know that. So now we have Ivona here as a volunteer, and we have wonderful few volunteers of Ukrainian that helping us translate, and we coming every day, twice a day, between those 3 orphanages, and we do workshop for the children, which is absolutely amazing, and the kids really love it. And maybe Ivona can share, her side to it because she's here with me every day doing it. So how, Ivona, tell all how
it's absolutely lovely. I love being here, and I love the response of the kids. They often come quite sad, maybe, close,
not wanting
right?
to,
So kind of suspicious, right? Yeah. And at the end, we are jumping and singing and dancing, and how much do you love it? We ask them. So much. They just love the workshop, and they automatically go to their eyes and using tapping points now when we meet them.
Yeah.
It's a lovely experience. If you have a possibility to do it, do it.
Yeah.
Amazing experience.
Yeah. And our workshop is really, really easy. So we made the decision as well what we want to use. So we just use a safe havening, and we use TTT and a little bit of breath and a lot of fun. So we use movement to wake them up. So we just dance together. We use a little bit of talk at the beginning when they need to introduce themselves through themselves by saying one positive word about each other, which sometimes is really difficult for them. And we also ask them to say something that makes them happy or something that makes them okay. And that is quite challenging, but they do it. They think a little bit and they just find these simple words. And then we dance, we move them up, we do safe havening, and then we introduce them into the states. We have a traffic light system.
Yeah, now we're losing.
Okay, yeah, we lost you there.
And
So
we
could
make
you
them
take the
feel
traffic lights again?
How you feel when you're frozen, when you need to stop
Aga?
at the red light. Right?
Could you start from the traffic light system again? Just take it from the traffic lights.
So we teach them about the traffic light system. What red, when you're frozen, when you're so scared, when you're like in the state of frozen, and then the orange, which is that fight and flight, and green when you like and relax. And we physically take them into that traffic lights and make them, squeeze and being really, really close, and then be like really like in the fight or flight, or be really relaxed. And then we ask them where they would like to be. And when they make the connection that they would like to be in the green, we then introduce TTT, the ultimate tool that will take them very quickly there. And now they have this connection of this, how it feels, to this, what I can do with. And that really, really works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then and when they're very small, we use tapping bears that tells us a story about, oh, I'm in red, so I'm feeling like this, and I want to be in green to feel like this. And we all tap. So we tap on the tapping bear and they tap on each other. And we use blow up breath at the end. And also we use a little bit of calming at the very, very end. When we just play nice music, we ask them to lie down in the child pose so they can breathe through the bellies. And we have them fell asleep, actually. We had them fell asleep on the session. So we had few kids, we couldn't wake them up afterwards. So it was just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. And thank you so much for sharing, because it all connects to the parts that we go through. And like especially this of, like we were just talking about this, how to connect You have to connect with the people who already know the persons you want to work with, because otherwise you will not get there. And find your ally, find the persons who already have the trust within the community, which is super important, because otherwise it's very difficult, especially like yourself said, coming with something that people have no idea what is this, and then to be able to trust. And when you have it already in one group, that can be transferred to the other. And then, because we already had the question about this, to work in schools and with children, and we said, yeah, I mean, this is the tool, because children, when they feel this is good, they do it, they don't question it. It is like, and you find so much joy. So I'm so happy that you're doing it. And we told before that Ivona, even though she is, of course, speaking the language of Poland, but is actually Swedish. I mean, since long time, isn't it? Or I don't even know how long time you've been living in Sweden, but it's long time. For me, you're Swedish rather than anything else. And here are the kids.
Oh, look, wonderful. Here are the kids. Yeah.
So the kids coming here.
Fantastic.
So this is our next workshop about to start. But just to let you know, that the workshop for children is no longer than 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And for adults is 3 hours.
Yeah.
So we do much more for adults. We do neuroscience. We really take them through the process.
Yeah.
So they have a basic knowledge. They've got trauma awareness, and they know why they use those tools. But kids, 45 minutes.
Yeah. That's really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Perfect. Stay in touch. And yeah. And if are you still taking support for your project?
Yes, we are. Yes, and we got GoFundMe page. Yes.
So if you could you just, is that something you could just write in the chat if anybody here wants to get involved or spread the word?
Sure, I can do that now. I can share the link. Just give me one sec. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a good example of all the things that you can do. And when you have, we always say this, also one of our guidelines is to use what you have. I mean, we all have different things that we bring. I mean, some do art, some do music, some do yoga, some do mindfulness. So for us, it's not that, oh, you do TTT, you do only TTT. Now you bring everything that, just like Aga was telling and Ivona, you bring in what you have that makes people feel safe and happy. I mean, because it has to have the component of joy when you're working, even if people would say that, oh, working with trauma that must be so heavy. Yeah, but the fantastic thing is to release trauma, because that really gives so much joy to people. Just like you say, wow, you go to the green light, a very nice metaphor with the traffic lights. When you come to there, wow, now it's time to go, because that's what it is, isn't it? The green light.
And also like you were saying, when you went down there, you really hadn't planned out exactly how you were going to do it. You weren't sure they were going to be reaching the kids. So, you took a little chance, a leap of faith, and you knew that you had something that would work. And it's the same thing with you as it's been with, for example, our other colleague, Kristen Miller, who I know you also spoken to, who worked with after the California fires. The message is always the same. If you want to help, you show up and you stay there and you're around. And you, when somebody has the time to experience something, you offer it to them. And once they experience it, they'll be happy to let you spread it. And that's the absolutely easiest way. So fantastically well done. We're so happy.
Yeah, and also this that I was telling, I mean, like you said that in the beginning, the refugees said, no, it isn't it. I mean, you tried, but it was what we in Sweden call kalla handen. They didn't want to let you there, because as you said, they had no idea who are you, why should I trust you? And then you continue working from another angle, and then finally you find the way to approach. So this is also a very important learning, that it isn't always to go direct to where you're going. It can be, to circle around a bit, and then you'll find, the way you can work together. Good.
Fantastic. I guess you guys are starting your training now. So
yeah.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Well done. Great, thank you.
Great to see you there, and to see Ivona and you two together. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Jättebra. Lycka till, Ivona.
Fantastic. And thank you to the translator as well. Thank you, and the kids.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, incredible project. Well done, and wow. Yep.
Yeah, and this is really, it shows this how, connecting around the world is so important. I mean, and like Ulf said, this to stay and be around. I mean, our work would not have been there without staying in Rwanda for a long time to find out how can you work with this, with people who are so, have the whole list of symptoms of trauma, having lived through a genocide. How can you do something, and you cannot find out that in 2 days and coming, oh, here I have, please go ahead with this tool. But you have to.
But this is a question we get often, isn't it, Gunilla? That people come to us and they say, oh, we want to do what you're doing. We want to go there. How do you get the funding? How do you start? How do you apply for it? Can we join you on a trip and see what you're doing? And the answer is none of those are actually the ways that actually we do. It's all about finding a community, preferably near you, if you have one. Usually there is one, or a community that you have some kind of connection to, or where you'd like to create some change. And then you look them up and you go there and you hang around and you wait for the person to arrive that already has the trust of the community, the village helper that is always there, always somebody who people go to in times of need, like Nawar was for the Syrian community. And then you offer it to them, because it's experiential. It's not about convincing people with paper or science or evidence or testimonials. It's about offering the experience of relaxation. And that actually is what convinces people to move forward with you. I'd just like to, as we started on this and touched on it, Gunilla, I'll just do really fast the essentials of mental health so that you get the idea where we are on this. So, I mean, if you look at the essentials of mental health, people need rest, food, water, and exercise. I mean, that's one of the basics. They need, to feel safe. And sometimes we have this method that we call TAS. Sometimes offering people a cup of tea and a smile could be more important than anything else before you even start doing something. People need a social context. And when it comes to a refugee that comes to a new place where they might not know the language, they might not have connection with the people back home, they might be wondering what's going on. Sometimes you will be a part of the social context. So it's vital that you show up and keep showing up so that there's some kind of safety and regularity to your being. And we often say, bring humor and a smile, bring calm, because you're not supposed to come there and feel compassion for them and feel sorry for them. You're there to bring light into whatever darkness they're working in. And acceptance of what has happened. You can help people accept what's happened by not going into effect with them, or by simply normalizing, things are the way they are, and let's do what we can about it right now. And let's find some meaning. And this is where these methods actually allow you to help people find meaning. Because if you have been traumatized and you realize that you can help yourself or be helped by somebody by a very simple method, and that you can actually help others, then there is a meaning in being able to help others. All of a sudden, you are transforming pain into power. And that's part of the empowerment of this process. And you're also prepared for when people have panic attacks or something, because there is something you can actually offer them. And also it gives meaning to not look too much in the rear mirror and try to go into what happened and details of that, because the brain needs to focus on where you are right now and forward from there. And after all this whole list of stuff, then you can start offering, for example, trauma tapping or self-havening, which are strategies for self-regulation.
So let's, since not all of you have done the TTT, let's just do a round of TTT and then also some of the self-havening, because that was like Aga mentioned, and these are all things that we use. And she also mentioned something called blowout breathing and some breathing exercises, but we at least will do the TTT and self-havening. So you, I mean, of course, you who have done EFT, and some of you have, snoozed on, or what you say, have looked at the TTT. So they're all similar. I mean, tapping is tapping. So we often say just tapping. And then the specific about the way that we do a trauma tapping technique is that we focused on trauma from the beginning, coming back to Dr. Carl Johnson, who said, focus on trauma, because very few people can help those who are traumatized. They end up in these long queues and suffer a lot. And so see to that, and then you'll also gain, recognition, because when people see that you can help people with trauma, that's something specific, and so that's why when we talk about how we work. It is specifically with traumatized community or people, persons, whether it's ourselves or others. So the whole tapping is using more or less the same points, not exactly like the EFT that some of you are already trained in, or TFT, because with all the modalities, more or less the same points, or trigger points, or meridian points, acupoints, whatever you like to call it. I mean, these points that send these signals to your brain to recognize that, okay, I can actually calm down because I can feel safe in this moment, because you create this safety inside. So we can just do, could you just show the picture of the points of the TTT? So then
yeah, we don't have that picture up right now.
Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. So you can just follow me. We just do around, and if you want to do it more specific, it is, of course, you need to expose yourself internally. I mean, sometimes we call it is an exposure therapy or technique, because we seldom say therapy unless we work therapeutically with clients, but otherwise we just call this technique or modality or so, because not to go into the area where some people can say that no, here you don't use this for therapy. No, this is just a relaxation method. Sometimes we say this is just a way for people to calm down, you know, and then the bonus can be that it actually reduces or even heals symptoms of trauma. So it depends on where you are. So we use different words without ever lying, but with different words depending on who we speak to, because to make people take on and try, because like Ulf said, it's experiential. You have to try to realize that this super simple 5 minutes technique gives so much effect, or is so effective.
And, so another thing with this is also that, you know, when we're focusing specifically on trauma, like in this case, a person that has been traumatized, that is that can be triggering traumatic reactions, whether it's a long time ago or not, you really don't need, it's not an issue to connect to whatever it is you need to resolve. So there is no need for talking and maintaining focus and all of that. You just need to open the window ever so lightly, touch ever so lightly on what it is, and then do the actual procedure, even in complete silence. That can actually be a very safe space for a person. The only thing you need to take care about is allowing them to decide if they would like to keep their eyes open or closed, because that can be important from a safety perspective.
Yeah, because sometimes closing your eyes can be to start a movie that is too strong. So that's why we say it's optional to close the eyes. But now, please don't take something that opens the Pandora's box, the biggest, but take something that at least, you know, stress you or you feel annoyed or something. We just call it, we just say in our most short instruction, we say, think about whatever bothers you ever so lightly. So don't go deep into it, because that's not necessary. You only need to touch it.
You're just opening up a neural network, and the hashtag is whatever bothers you ever so lightly. That's all you need to do. The brain will find a way.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you can do that now if you like. You close your eyes, or you keep them open, and you check then when you connect to that, where you find yourself in this scale that is called an SUD, subjective units of distress, or you don't need to call it that, but that's what it is called, from 0 to 10, where 0 is neutral and 10 is very much, you know, discomfort or pain inside. And then you remember that number, and I mean, you don't need to take it that seriously, but you scale yourself. It's just for your own sake to see, and that's good to do with somebody.
And if we were doing this as a Zoom with people actually in a train, which it is, you know, we would say, please hold up your fingers and show it, you know, just for yourself and for us, from 0 to 10. 0 is neutral, 10 is unbearable. Where are you more or less in your connection right now? And that gives us a chance to know where you are.
Yeah, if you like. I mean,
so if you like, you can hold up your fingers and just give us an idea. right? There's a sense of community and safety in that as well. So thanks for doing that.
Good.
Wonderful, beautiful.
And then before starting, you can just take a deep breath. And our way of breathing, we call it a bit alpha theta breathing. It's, you know, you breathe in with your nose. You hold your breath for a little while because that also gives more oxygen to your heart. And then you breathe out like a sigh and become a bit more heavy where you're sitting. And then you can breathe again. So you breathe in, you hold your breath for a while, and then you breathe out like you sigh. Okay. And then we start the tapping. So we start just on the side of the hand, this part that is usually called the karate chop, or in at least the original manuals. It was how I learned because I was a student of TFT, thought field therapy. That was my original training before Ulf and I and Dr. Johnson created this TTT. So we go from there. We say that we tap like 10-15 times on each point with 2 or 3 fingers. I go like this, but now you don't need to count because you can just follow. And then from there, we go here. So you put your thumbs on your temples, and then you do like a small massage from the middle, and then pulling your fingers outwards on your forehead to give a massage to your prefrontal cortex, where this executive and logic thinking is, which is kind of offline when we are stressed, and especially when we are traumatized. So you can give it a bit a go, possibility to get awake again. Okay. And then you tap here above your nose where the eyebrows meet. And then you continue, you follow the eyebrows to the outside of the eye. There, with one finger will reach into the temples, the other one on the bone that protects the eye. And then you go under the eyes, on the top of the cheekbone. And then you take one hand and you go under your nose. And we always say that you tap firmly and precisely. I mean, not hard, not loose. It's not like very loose, but it's like, for us, we say that, yeah, you should feel it. And then it is, we also teach people how to tap on others. That was especially before the pandemic. And then now we are getting back a bit to it again, because it is more effective when you do this tapping for somebody else, but it's all optional how you do it. But when you have a possibility sometime, you try it on somebody. And then over the chest, we don't only do this point that is, you know, under the collarbone, we do all over the chest, like a gorilla tapping. We call it gorilla tapping when we do it only. Not only because we have worked a lot around the Virunga Mountains, where the mountain gorillas dwell, but also because they know very well to do this. And it gives this kind of comfort for many. Also, it has many points on the chest, like here behind the chest bone, the sternum. There is the thymus gland, which is very important in your immune system. Here are some lymph drainage points, or whatever. I never learned what it's called in English. So you can even massage them a bit like that. But I learned even originally in the TFT. And there are the muscles that we contract us when we get anxious. And then you take one hand. No, I'll take the left hand on the right shoulder, because I start with doing. And then here on the side of the body, it's just on the side of the ribs. And then we go to the fingers. So you start with the little finger here, the inside of the little finger. So we go for all the fingers. And the thumb. And then we do the chest again, because as you who have been working with tapping, many find this chest point or the chest area is the center of emotions. The lungs are there, the heart is there, it's the oxytocin, it's where, you know, we hide when we are not feeling well. We find that very good area that gives, most people will say that, oh, this is the area really that gives so much calm. And many, in our quick stress relief, we use only this one in combination with box breathing. And it's also very efficient when you have just a little bit of time or doing it with some who don't know about tapping. Okay, and then you release your arms, and then we do breathing in between 2 rounds of tapping. So you breathe in through your nose again, hold your breath, and then breathe out. And then again, you breathe in, hold your breath, and then breathe out. And then we do a second round. We call it washing and rinsing. So if you started often with your tapping with your dominant hand, you now use your non-dominant hand and you do it on the other side, or what you say. So now I tap on this karate chop area. And then you go for this massage up here, and then you tap above the nose. Outside the eyes, and then under, and under the nose, under the mouth, and the chest, a bit of sternum. And then you put your dominant hand on your shoulder, then you tap on the side of your chest. And then the fingers. And finally, again, on the chest. You can also use toning, which is just releasing, when you're exhaling, you put a tone on your voice. That's also, you can always add things to tapping or incorporate it into other things. Okay, and then again, breathing. And breathe out. Again, breathing. And breathe out. And then you can just close your eyes again. Or close your eyes if you didn't do it before. And then you just check how it feels like, what feels different in your body. Perhaps there's some tingling, some sensation, something in your head, in your mind, in your legs, perhaps your feet. And when you have checked what feels different, you go back to what you were connecting to in the beginning and the number you had, and then you check how that number is different now. And if you like, you can put up your fingers from where you are now. Okay. Very good. So that is TTT. Connecting internally, rating, doing those 2 rounds with breathing in between. And then again, breathing and checking. Louise,
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Was someone talking? Sorry.
No.
It was sorry. I just wanted to ask you, I haven't been on your training, but I have read your things and I have been following your work for a very long time, and I do practice EFT, but just to double check with you, when you ask people do you ask people to tune into an issue? I know you said what bothers you lightly, but how do you, so if somebody's in distress in front of you, you don't need to ask them to tune into you, they're already in distress. But let's say you've got a group of people and you want to offer a relaxation session. As an EFT practitioner, I would usually ask, we'd use words. So with this, there's no words, so you're not instructing them to do anything, you're just presuming that they're already tuned in. Is that right?
I mean, we have done the answer to all questions, and I don't know if you have the picture there, Ulf.
Yeah,
No?
we do have the, and I just had it prepared a second ago. So give me 2
Yeah.
seconds and it'll be here.
Yeah. So anyway, so it is like, and we're just saying that because it is depending on where you are and who you work with, there is this answer to everything. It depends. So I cannot say, I mean, it's impossible to answer because it depends on what group. If you tell me what specific group it is you would think of, you know, then it's more easy to say something. But generally speaking, we do just like we did now, that we will, you know, but if we know that the group, for example, I've been in a group in Rwanda, and they were all in a support group of women who have been sexually abused during the genocide. So we knew that they had very deep. So then we wouldn't speak about anything, but just start doing the tapping. Because instead of saying that, you know, you connect, or just like you said, you don't need to say anything, but because then you know that it will reduce, you know, whatever it is that is there already. It's like when working with children, you don't have to tell them to think about something. You can ask them, so how was it in school today, if it is your own child, or in class, oh, let's just do something that we do this game before starting, and most probably they will be more focused, because whatever you have active will be reduced most often, you know, unless you start thinking about something else, and then it can become more intense. You're thinking that, oh, something lowered and that was in the way for something, and then you think, no, you did it, now it became worse, you know. Yeah, it's because something else came up, and then you do it again, you know. So it's not that. So is that an answer to your question?
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah,
So.
yeah, it depends.
yeah, but tell me more then. I mean, or tell us.
Well,
more.
no, I mean, it depends, as in I'm listening to your, it depends.
Yeah, okay.
I was asking you an abstract question. It's just, you know, if you're used to EFT and you're used to, you know,
direct,
I feel cautious with the side. I don't want to, I feel cautious, I guess, and I just wanted some direction from you. So let's say, so we have, for example, at the moment we have a lot of young asylum seekers who've literally just come off the boats across the channel. So like 2 days later they'd be in our town, in a hotel, in a strange town. They don't, you know, with flip-flops and a t-shirt. So they are traumatized. So with that group of people, obviously we're not going to be digging round, but we already have relationships, if you know what I mean. So some of them come for massage, some come for other things, but I feel really cautious, I guess, because I know the power of EFT, if you know what I mean. So I feel cautious. So
no, I don't. We know the power of EFT. What
EFT,
did you say?
No, the power of EFT. So I know how powerful the technique is.
How powerful? Yeah.
So I feel cautious in the startup, in the setup, I guess.
Yeah.
It's okay to not have. I just wanted to double check with you. It's okay not to ask them to tune in. We just
no, because you are more safe if they don't tune in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that is why we call this trauma tapping technique, because we started, as I said, working with communities and populations who we knew, just like you, that most probably, but still we don't know, even if they have flip-flops and t-shirts and come from a certain, it's not that everybody will be traumatized.
No.
Because it also depends on how because it's like the trauma is not the experience. Or how was it Carrie said, the trauma is not the experience, it is what happens inside you. So one situation will be traumatizing for one, but not for the other. So that's why, but by doing it without words and asking, and by not asking people to tune in, you can do something that will most probably make people a bit relaxed and more attentive to what you are doing, you know. So we often have this exchange, Ulf and myself, and Ulf will ask me.
Yeah, Gunilla, you know, thinking about that, during all these years that you have been working, I've been working with this, how many times has somebody, even in large group trainings with severely traumatized people, you know, maybe even 200 people, how many times has somebody had an abreaction, gone into flooding, and completely just lost it during a session?
Yeah, and that is never. I mean, and I've been doing this since 2007. So it's many years, and together with Ulf also, but I have been many times to, work for example, in the prisons in Rwanda, where people are, I mean, in the beginning when we started working there, perpetrators of the genocide, or like I said, these women who were subjected to gender-based violence during both in Congo and in Rwanda, big groups sometimes, and sometimes you can feel the trembling. And that's why, again, this working with somebody who is from the community, who can hear what somebody is saying or mentioning, so you know that, oh, let's just do the exercise. We don't talk about anything, because sometimes just mentioning the genocide can trigger somebody. But just by being cautious and starting with, let's do this first, or start by dancing, or start by listening to the music that, Fairuz, I mean, for those who come from the Middle East, who is something that you listen to be, as a morning calm sensation. So that is, again, coming back to what Aga and Ivona said, that you bring what you have, and of course you need to be attentive, but when it comes to using TTT, we have never had an app reaction.
Well, we have Chantal is raising her hand, so please, Chantal.
So the main reason why I like this is that you don't ask people to relive their trauma. So what is your experience on when you say, what is your SUD on this? Don't you find that could bring the trauma back up?
That's a wonderful, 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 wonderful question. And I would just say that's the reason why we recommend people after a session, instead of instead of just, saying, where's your SUD now? The first question is, what do you notice that is different? Because you want it to be qualitative. You want them to go inside and kind of use their interoception, check their senses, and find out what has shifted, because that might not at all have anything to do, because whatever that was might have shifted already 3 times, and there's something else in the layers of the onion. So once they've checked, what do you notice that is different? And that qualitative answer could be, well, I feel lighter, or it's not the same, or it's fuzzier. I mean, it could be relating to the memory, the experience, the reaction, whatever it is. And it's not important to analyze it, but it's important to allow them that step first. Second step after that, you could ask, and where is the SUD now? Because now they're in a place where they actually realize that something has changed. So from there, they will go into that.
Somebody else is sharing.
Took over the share screen. That's interesting. So there we go. And then once you've asked that, you can also ask, if there's no language barrier at all, you can ask them, is this good or bad? And the reason for that is, again, that you leave it for them to be empowered and to decide, what does this actually mean to me? I feel lighter. It's gone from a 9 to a 2, or a 9 to a 7, or 9 to an 8. Doesn't really matter, because instead of evaluating that and saying, oh, that's a little, or that's a lot, or that's good or that's bad, if they get to say if this is good or bad, they will usually own the result. So these are the 3 ones. And if they do say it's, I feel fantastic, we usually add congratulations to leave it to them to be empowered to own the change they just allowed to have happen. And I say, Amy, you have a question as well here.
Wait, because I understood the question differently. So I will answer in my way. So
was that an answer to your question, Chantal?
Not quite. I appreciate.
No, so let me answer. Yeah, so let me go with the way I understood it. So then you have both sides, because I understood you as asking them the SUD in the beginning can trigger to go, and that is exactly, and that's also from that side a very, very good question, because when working with groups where we know are are probably very traumatized, we don't ask for SUDs. We don't ask them to go there at all. Just starting, as I said, doing the technique without saying anything. And then, most probably after asking just the questions that Ulf said now, for the SUD, that will come, what feels different now. And then they say, oh, I feel, and for some you can notice that they start crying because they feel so relieved, or, it can be like that. So that is both ends. So you don't need to ask about the SOD at all.
I appreciate both. And like Kalam, when you were saying Kalam, like just, you have to gauge your group and your, that's where your intuition comes into play and say, okay, I don't need to ask. And we're all out of 10. We're all, crying or, So thank you both.
Yeah, thank you for asking the question. Yes, Amy.
So this is slightly off topic a little bit, but because my experience oftentimes is an addiction is a response to trauma from what I've worked with. So have you ever used this technique with someone that is intoxicated in that moment and having a really triggering response in their intoxication, like with the alcohol for example? And have you found it effective if they contact you while they're intoxicated?
That's a great question, and the answer is yes, and not only alcohol. Actually, we were working with a network of people who have been resuscitated from criminality, and they told us actually quite funny story that there was a LSD dealer in a city in the south of Sweden who would, when his clients got a psychosis from LSD, he would use tapping to bring them back. We also have been teaching an addiction recovery program from that very same angle that you're saying, that we believe that addiction isn't the problem, it's whatever causes the addiction. So it's a self-medication, usually for some traumatic experiences, and addiction in itself brings traumatic experiences and shame. So we have a wonderful recording that we're actually allowed to share in teaching purposes of one of the people who took our training for addiction recovery from trauma. She was called by a client on a Sunday morning who had drank a bottle of wine for breakfast, and he was really upset, and his wife was even more upset. And well, she sent me a text message saying, because it was in the middle of training, what do I do? The client is really, really plastered here and asking me for help. And we just texted back and said, you give them help, you calm them down. And in the recording, you can see how the client goes from very agitated into calmer and calmer. And at the end, he is sitting there and saying, I need to understand what you just did, because what you just did helped me to calm down even better than the wine did. I need answers. And she was very fast. She said, I'll be happy to tell you if you go to sleep, and get in touch when you wake up.
Yeah, so that is, also you have that other example also of your client who came without like having null, only this register of feelings or emotions. And what happened?
So I had a client, it was a woman. She came to me mid-40s, and she said, this stone face is like, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to help me, because you told me that I have to be in touch with my emotions to do something about it. And to be honest, I'm on a max dose of antidepressant emotional regulation medication here, and I really don't feel a lot. It's kind of like just gray, everything. And well, I said, let's give this a try and see what happens, because we never promise results, because we can't, because we don't know, because everything depends. So I started the session with a tapping, and then we went from there, and I use a mix of techniques. So I did some NLP and hypnosis as well. And at the end of it, we were both sitting there and laughing out loud. And that to me is a really good proof of concept when it comes to coming through to the nervous system, regardless of whatever drug might be involved, positive or negative.
Yeah, and that is incredible. It is both that it really reaches down like to the core of the person. This, that you can help somebody out of a psychosis or a panic attack, but also that you can reach into somebody who is actually medicated to the maximum of cutting emotions. So it is amazing to have this tool, and you always have it with your fingertips, or even if the person does not have the fingers anymore, because we've been working also with people who lost hands in in landmines and others, I mean, still you can, you can do this technique. So
And-
it
and
is really fantastic.
And another thing there as well, when it comes to addiction recovery, it's the same as complex post-traumatic stress or generalized anxiety and all these things which actually stem in some way. You are always triggered. Even if something is called generalized, you're still being triggered by something. You just don't know exactly what it is. So when people get this tool and they carry it with them, like Gunilla says, it means that the next time they're triggered, instead of saying, why am I triggered? Where did this come from? What does it mean? They do the actual tapping for themselves and they self-regulate. And since they're doing it when they are triggered, whatever triggered them will be checked off by the nervous system off the list of stuff that might trigger. So step by step, they're actually self-treating in exactly the moments where they should, without maybe even finding out if it was the smell of a barbecue or the sound of a door opening or a child laughing, whatever that was that triggered them. They don't really need to know as long as they're doing the tapping. So it's worked really well also for people to stop cravings, because a lot of cravings come both for eating and for other things, come from some kind of stressor. Is that an answer for you?
Great, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much for asking. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. So I was just thinking, do you want to show some self-havening, since we have been talking about that? So
yeah, sure. So self-havening, I mean, when it comes to the research on this, there's loads and loads and loads of research. There's a book called The Science Behind Tapping by Dr. Peter Stapleton, a colleague in Australia at Bond University. So basically, Dr. Ronald Rudin was looking at what are the mechanisms, what is the actual neurobiology of encoding and decoding of traumatic reactions or conditionings. And following that, he found that, what seemed to be one of the components that actually is in play here is that when you calm the nervous system down, what will happen neurobiologically is that if there is a conditioning with specific AMPA receptors in the brain that are conditioned to connect a stimuli to a reaction, that will actually become depotentiated. So those actual synapses, those receptors will dissolve if you manage to create calm when the stimuli is there. And so we started looking, are there other ways of doing that? And yeah, there are. There's a way of actually reaching the nervous system instead of tapping by stroking. And so self-havening uses 3 ways. So we can try it together. So just sit straight up, put your feet on the floor. And what you do is you just put your hands together and imagine that you were rolling a small glass pearl between them. So you can just do a circular motion with your hands, the palms of your hands, circular motion. What you can do now is you can close your eyes and you can feel between your hands. Are they warm or are they cold? Are they a little bit clammy and sweaty, or are they dry? What happens if you regulate the tension between your hands so that, you find a motion and pressure where it actually tickles a little bit? And all those things you're doing now is you're going into your system, your sensomotoric system, and you're doing interoception. You're checking out and tuning in to yourself and your body. And that in itself usually will calm your system down. So what Rudin found was that if you do this, this is the first of the 3 self-havening touches or techniques. So if you do this for 3 to 5 minutes, your system will calm down, cortisol levels will go down, and one of the brain waves, which is called a delta wave, which is there when you're safe enough to mentalize stuff, basically, or in deep sleep or meditation, and even when you're awake, it will be enhanced. And that's part of that chemical process of depotentiation. So just do this. And then what you can do, because we didn't connect to anything before and we don't need to right now, we can use both tapping and self-havening also to connect to good stuff. So if you put your hands on your shoulders and pull down like this, if that's comfortable to do, and for a moment there, you can connect to a memory that you find pleasant, something good that happened, a person, a pet, a place, or a situation that made you smile. And what you can do is you can just bring that smile to your face, and And what you're doing now is you're actually connecting your neural networks, your schemas in your brain, to the hashtag pleasant memory. And that will be reinforced. And so what you're doing now is you're creating resilience. You're sculpting a resilience state. So this is something you can do when you're watching a nice sunset, or, you know, just realizing that you have feelings of gratitude towards life or nature or something. And this is also when you do it on the shoulders for somebody else, it's the most efficient way of actually stopping a panic attack. So if somebody has a panic attack where they just can't breathe, you go up and you say, hi, you know, my name is Ulf. You know, if you want, I can show you, and you show on your own shoulders. If you allow me to do this on your shoulders, you will calm down. I am, you know, if that's okay. And usually people will always say yes, because it's very unpleasant. And if you do this in a matter from 5 to, I mean, we've had cases where people had to do it 40 minutes, but at the end of it, you know, usually 5 to 10 minutes, people will always snap out of it because the nervous system calms down. Now, the third place on your body that you can do self-havening besides on the shoulders, and that is if you do it in your face. And it's kind of like washing your face. So imagine washing your face, you know, like your frontal lobe, your forehead, and then you can, you know. And here's another thing, you know, the nervous system is kind of interesting, because if you cross your hands under your chin and use them in opposites and close your eyes, some of you are going to feel, wow, that's a bit strange, isn't it? Because your brain is going to go, wait a minute, my right hand, is that really my hand? Am I doing this? Is somebody else? What's going on? So that's just different ways of doing it. There you go. And you can just compare those 3 or 4 different ways of doing it. So that's self-havening. And it's also easy to do to help somebody with from behind if they're lying down or if they're sitting up, you know, because you can always reach the shoulders. And I recommend the shoulders as the main one if you're facilitating it, because the face is a bit intimate. And if they are having a nervous reaction, the palms of their hands might be cold and sweaty, and it might just be unpleasant for them.
Yeah. And as you said, this has shown very, very efficient to work with people who have panic attacks. I mean, in the refugee camp there in Greece, where we worked a lot from 2018 to 2020, so many had panic attacks, and of the refugees, of frustration, of the situation they were in, from where they came from. Some just got into this very panic, and also shame. I mean, because some of the refugees will come, specifically, I would say, from my experience, women who have been perhaps somewhere along the way being abused, sexually abused, and they cannot tell their husband because the husband will kick them away. And shame, as you know, is the heaviest and most difficult emotion to do something about. But that's again where it's so beautiful to have something. You don't have to tell anybody what you experienced, and just using these techniques, and just you can just, you know, if you're working therapeutically, say, yeah, no, you know, whatever that was happening along the way, you can take that also when you have come some bit away. And for these panic attacks, with this just stroking, but then of course doing it for the other person, because you cannot tell somebody who is in panic to start doing something because they are off. But just doing this, or asking somebody who knows that person to do it. Again, always working with somebody who the person has trust to, you know, because then seeing this, and this is kind of, you know, people do like that. I mean, it comes natural, holding the shoulders of somebody who is, you know, and then if you just ask the person, just please stroke at the same time. That's fantastic. When
that's also an easy way to start, you know, a session. If you're sitting down with people and you don't know them very well, just, you know, can we do this as we speak, you know?
Yeah.
Or a debrief when there's been an accident or a situation or something happened in school or in class or before an exam, or, you know, it's endless, the possibilities. If you add a systematic way of calming the nervous system into any situation, you will have calmer people.
Yeah. And Pamela was asking this about open and closed eyes. actually, when it came to those in panic, I never even thought about whether I wouldn't ask them to close their eyes, but I think often they would, because it's something going on. And if that is going on already with eyes open, I would never ask a person to close their eyes because I really experienced that, how when closing the eyes, going very far into whatever.
And I also would recommend you to never start doing this on somebody without telling them that you're going to do it, and so that they have understood what's about to happen. Because for some people who have been violated or abused, having somebody approach them from behind can be a trigger in itself.
Yeah, and I never did it from behind. Yeah, I always came from up front. And when I'm referring to it now, we had a specific TTT/havening clinic in the refugee camp in Moria, in one of the islands in Greece, in Lesbos, so that people actually came for that. But then the medical doctors would ask us to come when somebody had a panic attack, because it happened too often. And just giving some sedation, I mean, it's not a very good idea, because they will come back the next day. But with this, actually, things are healed in a beautiful way. Yeah, so this was the Moria. Yeah, it's now already 7:31, so we have come 1 minute over our time.
Oh no!
Oh no! But I mean, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now. So we will just have another 5 minutes for your questions
Q&A, and
comments.
also if you have any comments, if you have anything, if you found something specifically useful, it's nice for us to know that. So whatever your takeaway is, feel free to open your mic and say it, or write it in the chat. That helps us to improve what we're doing. If you want to be a part of what we're doing, you can go in and check us out on our website, our Facebook page. Join our Facebook page. You will find we will be posting stuff there, and you'll find out when we're doing trainings and stuff. That would be great. Our book is available as a podcast, as an audiobook, and we will also give you a link to it in the follow-up from this.
Yeah, so Kayla, you were asking if we worked with anyone who struggles with touch, self-touch, or touch from others. Yeah, or someone who doesn't buy into the tapping. Yeah, of course. People who don't buy into tapping, definitely loads. So that's just, just leave it. It's always an offer. That's what we say. It's offer, don't insist. And then when it comes to touch, I have not personally, but I think Ulf you have had somebody who was sensitive even of self-touch.
Yeah, one.
Yeah, who couldn't do it him or herself. And I have, somebody. And of course you can do it imaginary, so like proxy for yourself, proxy. But very few I have met. Also this with sexually abused persons, whether women or men. I have never met anybody who did not want to try tapping, even doing it. I mean, assisting, what you say, that how do you call it, applied, when you do it for somebody, because it's like good touch is healing, and when they trust you, and I mean that's the only time when you will do these things. For many it's even super healing.
And Zed says if somebody eats for emotional reasons and they're doing the tapping and havening but still continues, well, the answer is it depends. I mean, that's a specific case, and we'd need more information to even guess what that might be. There are so many reasons for everything that people do, but what you could do is, if you want a general answer, you could do a tapping session on continuing to eat despite doing tapping, and the brain will actually go and look what that might be.
You can also look at and probably connect to Dr. Peta Stapleton. We keep mentioning her, one of those persons, psychologists who have done most research. She has done specific programs on what does she call her programs for the eating disorder? Peta, Ulf.
Compulsive eating.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, we will, I try to remember, otherwise just write an email and ask for Peta Stapleton, who has done programs specifically when it comes to eating disorders.
And we, you know, we have loads of videos and playlists and stuff, and we can give you a link to our video channel. If you subscribe to it, you'll find out immediately when we have new stuff being posted there, because there's a lots of free available material. So please do that. And what we'd appreciate for you to do is to spread this now. So if we're to end this on a positive note, we would do our oath. So if you just raise your
But
left
just
or right.
let's take Andrea's question first, because she has already raised her hand.
Which one was that?
Andrea. No,
Oh, she raised her hand. Sorry, I didn't see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Andrea.
No worries. I just wanted to tell you two things. So for one, I've been trained in brain spotting. And so I had someone who had just left their husband of like 20 years and teenage children for transgender woman, and like literally just walked out and called me crying on the phone as they were driving and going into, you know, kind of shit. So I was just like, get off the road. And we started with the self-brain spotting, self-gazing, and then just gaze spotting at one point. And then it was just too much. And so I went into TTT with them. And within about 20-25 minutes, they were able to be calmed down. And then I, of course, did a whole action sheet with them, what they're going to do next and stuff like that, because they literally had just left their family. So, and it worked really, really well.
Great.
So I just wanted to tell you. And then second, in terms of like, if you can't touch or whatever, I actually, I don't have claustrophobia, but I've, you know, been sick and stuff. So I've been in many times getting MRIs done. And the last one was a couple months ago. I have several, you know, a year. And for some reason, I just got claustrophobic, and, you know, you can't move. And I did, since I've been trained in EFT as well, I remember Dr. Peter Stapleton talking about how, I think it was in Germany or something like that, they went ahead and did, and she's also done the MRI scans, while people just think about a food, you know, and then they think about doing tapping without actually doing it, how it affects their brainwaves. So it's similar to actually tapping without tapping. So there I was in there starting to actually have a panic attack, which was so strange for me. And I started visualizing tapping. And within a few minutes, it went away. And I had to be there for 1 hour and 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So it was difficult.
Well done.
At 4 o'clock in the morning, so I wasn't happy. And it went away. So it does work without touching.
Yeah,
good.
It's self-proxy tapping. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And that's a very challenging situation. I don't know what would happen with me when I had to do it. So well done. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing everything, and for joining us. And this...
Can we do the pledge now?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course we have to do it fast before people run away.
All right. Raise a hand of choice. Whatever hand it is the right one, whether it's left or not. And just say after me, I solemnly vow.
I solemnly vow.
Forever.
Whoa, wow. Forever.
To never.
To never.
Refrain from.
Refrain from.
Showing this.
Showing this.
To anybody.
To anybody.
Whoever needs it.
Whoever needs it.
I will offer, I won't insist.
I will offer and not insist.
So
Good.
Help me, universe.
Yeah, help us, universe, to share this, because it is too powerful to be kept, you know, in your drawer or under your mattress, you know. So keep sharing it, because it is really so good, and it's for free. You know, your fingertips are for free. So thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Having this curiosity and joining us this evening for us, and very early morning for some, and midday for others. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Thank
See
you.
you next next workshop. Yeah, we have one next Wednesday also, but more than directed on substance abuse, addictions, or substance.
So Amy, hope to see you then.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Jan Myers will also come, and his friends. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.